Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of my top waiver wire targets and streamable defenses for Week 13 of this NFL season. I'm still in disbelief. I know I say this every week with how fast the last couple of weeks of how fast the season's gone along, but I still can't believe we're at Thanksgiving. So let's enjoy this last couple months of football that we have remaining until we hit the off season. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and dive into my waiver wire targets. You guys should know by now these players do have to have 50% roster availability, so there is a good chance they're available in your league. My quarterback out of the week, if you're looking for a streaming option this week, even though there are no teams on a bye, but maybe you've been Brock Purdy's been your quarterback this season, or maybe your quarterback has been inconsistent and he has a rough matchup this week. A guy you can maybe take a roll of the dice on, who seems to be turning around his career after being benched earlier this season. I am going to go with Bryce Young. He's available in 95% of the leagues against one of the best defenses in the NFL. The Chiefs. He threw for 263 passing yards and had a touchdown. He also had 3 rushes for 20 yards. He doesn't use his rushing ability as often as you would like, but he does have the capability of running, which does kind of give him a little bit of a higher floor as a fantasy option. And then what I do like for Bryce is he's scored at least 1 touchdown in his last 4 games. And again, like I said, if you're looking for a streaming option this week, he's going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have allowed the second most points per game against quarterbacks this season. My running back out of the week, if you guys have been listening to me over the last month, all I'm doing is basically hammering home handcuff running backs that are out there on the market. So for those Derrick Henry managers, I will suggest again adding Justice Hill. He's available in 80% of the leagues. Now, he's not getting enough touches for you to play him. This past Monday night, he had 4 rushes for 55 yards and a touchdown, and he had 2 catches for 7 yards on 2 targets. They're going against the Eagles, which is a tough matchup for running backs, which is the 5th fewest amount of points per game. But Derrick Henry's going to dominate touches. Again, though, as I've been saying with all the handcuff running backs over this past month, your best bet is if you don't have a like a running back depth on that you're gonna maybe play during the playoffs. I just highly suggest, if you're a Derrick Henry manager, to have Justice Hill, because if a worst case scenario happens over this next month where Derrick Henry gets hurt and he has to miss time and you're not going to have him for the playoffs, you're not going to want to have to fight for Justice Hill off the waiver wire. So that's why I think he's a target specifically for Derrick Henry managers if he's out there. My wide receiver out of the week, this guy just keeps on scoring touchdowns. Nick Westbrook-Ikini for the Titans. He's available in 88% of the leagues right now. Now, this past weekend, just 2 receptions, 48 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets. Now, I want to see him to get more targets before I can trust him weekly in my lineups, but he has gotten at least 5 plus targets in 3 of the last 4 games. And what's interesting with him is he has actually scored a touchdown in 6 of the 7 games he's played in this season. Now, he does have a decent matchup this week going against the Commanders, who have allowed the 14th most points per game against wide receivers this season. Now, is he going to keep up this pace where he's scoring touchdowns in basically every single game outside of 1 this season that he's played in? Maybe not, but I do think if you're looking for wide receiver depth options heading into the playoffs, I don't think he's a bad guy to consider adding to your bench. My tight end ad of the week, actually, I'm finishing with 2 tight ends, as you can see in my flex ad of the week. But my tight end ad of the week, I am going to go with Hunter Henry. He's available in 52% of the leagues. And mainly because tight ends are always a rookie quarterback safety valve. They're a guy they can lean on. And apparently, Drake May is doing that with Hunter Henry. He's available in 52% of the leagues. Couldn't remember if I just said that or not, so I do apologize if I repeated that. With that being said, this past Sunday, he had 5 receptions for 44 yards on 8 targets. What I like about him is he's at that ideal range where I love for my tight ends to get at least 8 targets. That's when I think I can trust him as a weekly option. He's actually gotten 8 targets in 4 of the last 6 games he's played in. And he actually has a matchup where if you're looking to have a tight end to stream this week, he's going against the Colts, who have actually allowed the 8th most points per game against tight ends this season. Another guy that's seen a consistent volume of targets is Zach Ertz, the veteran tight end for the Commanders. He's also available in 52% of leagues. Now, this past weekend, he had 6 receptions for 38 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. Now, Ertz isn't getting the yards, right? He's more of a PPR machine, so if you do play on half-point PPR or PPR leagues, he gets more value in those leagues compared to standard leagues. With that being said, he in the last 5 games, he's gotten at least 7 targets in 4 of those games. He does have a tough matchup this weekend going against the Titans, who have allowed the 6 fewest points per game against tight ends this year. But based on the volume of targets that he's consistently seen at this point, again, like I talked about with Hunter Henry, he's tied with a rookie quarterback, and rookie quarterbacks love their safety valves and their tight end, especially when they're a trusty veteran like a Hunter Henry or Zach Ertz. So if you're looking for a tight end that's going to get at least a consistent volume of targets, Zach Ertz is also an option for you to pick up off the waivers this week. Moving into my streamable defenses for week 13, just like the players I talked about, these defenses, they do have to have at least 50% roster availability. Don't necessarily love a lot of the options this week. Hopefully you did listen to me over the past couple weeks where the options I did suggest had playable options heading into this week. But with that being said, my top streaming option I like this week, I do like the Colts against the Patriots. The Colts are available in 89% of the leagues, mainly just because the offense that they're going against. The New England Patriots have allowed the 5th most sacks in the NFL. They're tied for the 5th most giveaways, so there's the sack potential and the giveaway potential for you to rack up points. And obviously, if the team is giving the ball away, that's potential for a pick 6, a fumble recovery for a touchdown. And I do think there's a level of a floor for the Colts this week because New England's only scoring 16.4 points per game this season, which is the 2nd fewest in the NFL. You wanted a Stream A defense and have some fun possibly in that boring middle game on Thanksgiving. There are these next 2 options. I do prefer the Cowboys more, though. The Cowboys are available in 71% of the leagues again, and they're going against the Giants on Thanksgiving. This is a home game for Dallas. I do think there's a level of a high floor for Dallas as well because the Giants are only scoring 14.8 points per game this season. That's the fewest in the NFL. And then obviously Tommy DeVito's there. We saw how lowly that offense was this past weekend against the Bucs. That was a great streaming option. And then when you got that speedster Turpin, who we saw return that kick return for a touchdown against the Commanders on Sunday, he could do that as a kick returner or a punt returner. And if he's able to take one to the house, that's going to get you points for if you wanted to stream the Dallas Cowboys defense or defense/special teams this Thanksgiving. My other one, staying in that same matchup. Don't really love it the way the Giants players were talking, but it's still a good, decent matchup to stream against, especially if you're in a 12 or 14 team league and you miss out on maybe the Colts or the Cowboys, or you didn't pick up one of the defenses I suggested over the past couple weeks that have playable matchups in week 13. The Giants are available in 95% of the leagues. Why I like that is, as bad as the Giants have been, they actually have the 5th most sacks in the NFL, and they're going against a banged-up offensive line with a backup quarterback in Cooper Rush. So I like the ability where the Giants could get some sacks in this matchup. And then there's also the turnover potential in this too, because the Dallas Cowboys are actually tied for the 2nd most giveaways. This is going to be a high-risk, high-reward streaming option for you, but I still think they're worth a roll the dice in deeper leagues if you were to miss out on the Colts, the Cowboys, or you don't have a decent matchup from if you maybe have whoever you streamed last week doesn't have a good matchup this week. Another one, sticking in a matchup I talked about before, but you can also consider the Patriots against the Colts. This is a high-risk, high-reward play. Now, this is a home game for New England. The Colts actually haven't won in New England since 2006, if you want to factor that in. And then also, too, just because the Colts have been giving the ball away this season, they're actually tied for the 3rd most giveaways. So if you're going to stream the Patriots, you're going to bet that this is a home game for them. They're going to play with the home crowd, and then you can bet on maybe Anthony Richardson or somebody on that offense fumbling the ball or throwing a pick and maybe a pick 6 or something like that. Again, just like the Giants, this is a high risk, high reward play if you wanted to stream the Patriots defense in week 13. My last one, don't necessarily love it because like the Jets, as bad as the Seahawks against the Jets, Seahawks are available in 91% of leagues. No, there's no really stats about this. This is a road game for Seattle. I do think it's a high risk play because you just never know with this offense in New York does have a lot of weapons, but at the end of the day, they've just been so inconsistent. There's sack potential because their offensive line is not that great. There's turnover potential because Aaron Rodgers just has not played his best for him in his 20th season in the league, and it's just so many inconsistencies. I think it's definitely worth a roll of dice on them, but I would prefer the top four options over them just because the Jets at the end of the day still have some playmakers in that offense, and all it takes is any given Sunday for them to put it together and have a good outcome. But again, though, most of the time this year they have been inconsistent, so that's why I have them as the Seahawks as a streaming option in week 13. So yeah, those are my top waiver wire targets and streamable defenses for week 13 of the NFL season. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, if you hit the like button, if you have not subscribed or follow me on all my social media platforms, please do. Mainly on X, that's where you can find me. But obviously, I'm on TikTok, YouTube, and I'm also on Instagram. You guys will get my starts and sits tomorrow, probably earlier than I normally get it up because with it being Thanksgiving, my day job, I should be getting out pretty early tomorrow. So, hoping to get to that to you guys at least by early evening, thinking maybe at some point in the afternoon. That's why you want to subscribe or follow me so you can make sure you get that as soon as it's posted. Hope you guys enjoy your night, your evening, your morning, whenever you're watching this. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace out.